This is the Louie T Network.
Man, I love some football. Man, I love some football. My favorite week is week 1, cause I'm watching football. But first comes the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. We in the lab room.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome, you are in the lab room. Of course, I am your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 2 in the National Football League. Miami Dolphins traveling out to Orchard Park, New York to take on the Buffalo Bills. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. And Buffalo has been a little shop of horrors for the Miami Dolphins. They're looking to exercise some of the demons that they faced last season. Bills swept this Dolphins team a season ago, and I thought this could be a trap game for the Dolphins. I said, hey, if you're looking to turn the corner, if you want to make me a believer, make me a believer. Go beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Huge task for the Dolphins. Let's see if they were up to it in week number 2 of the National Football League. So you start out solid second drive of the game for the Buffalo Bills as FedEx has a nice catch and run that helps generate a field goal. E.J. Manuel misses a wide open Robert Woods on third down, short hops him, and they got to settle for a field goal. The next maturation of E.J. Manuel, because early on in this season, he's managing the game better. He's not turning over the football. He's making smarter decisions with the football. If it's not there, he's checking it down or he's tucking it and running it. And I've noticed that they're running a little bit of read option with him as well. So they're kind of getting him a little bit more acclimated to the game and making him a little bit more comfortable by calling plays that he's comfortable with, things he ran in college at Florida State that he was successful with. So the next maturation in him becoming an even better quarterback and a more successful quarterback in this league is him hitting open receivers when he has opportunities, pockets clean, he sees the receiver, they're there, he's got to make the throw. He missed Woods. That would have been an easy completion and an easy first down. He misses them. They have to settle for a field goal. It's 3-0. Anthony Booby Dixon blocks the third possession punt of the Miami Dolphins, leads directly to another field goal as Scott Chandler makes a gorgeous catch on the sidelines. Was ruled incomplete. The officials had to take a look at it as it was challenged, and it was overturned. Great call by head coach Doug Marrone to challenge the play. Great catch by Chandler to get both feet down. Leads to another field goal on that possession as it's 6-0. And again, it's 6-0 going into the second quarter. We'll talk about it here in a second. Watkins gets a 27-yard catch, which puts the Bills in field goal range. Manuel misses Watkins on an open seam route, wide open, over the middle. He's going to score. He's in the end zone as he overshoots him by about 3 or 4 yards over his head. That's what I'm talking about right there. Those are the type of plays that stops you from beating the New England Patriots. You can get away with that against the Dolphins. You cannot beat the Patriots if you do that. Those are the type of things that E.J. Manuel has to clean up. Those are the type of throws that I want to see him make in order for him to take that next step, that quantum leap that they're looking for from him in Buffalo, he's got to make that throw and make this possession worth 7, not 3. Instead, they got to settle for another field goal. And as we know, in this league, field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. But Bills are able to tack on 3 more. It's 9-0. So they're padding their lead. But again, for as much as they've dominated up until this point, they've only got 9 points to show for it. That's not enough for as well as the Bills have played in this football game. Tannehill was under heavy duress in this game, in the first half especially. 3 sacks already up to this point as we go into the halftime break. Dolphins down 9-0. Also, Noshawn Moreno injures his elbow, not coming back in this game. And that was a huge blow because I talked about the physicality that he brought to this football team and how that was going to be something that would help them against these Bills, who are a very physical football team. His tough and physical running style was going to bode well for them in this game. He goes out immediately as he enters the game, and so that was a crushing blow for this Dolphins football team. Tannehill was under duress from the jump. 3 sacks. It was Kyle Williams. It was Super Mario Williams. It was Jerry Hughes. They were getting to Ryan Tannehill in this game, and they were making life miserable, as they usually do for him, especially in Buffalo. It's 9-0. This is the difference now between last week and this week. I'll show you exactly what I mean coming up as we enter the third quarter. Dolphins get a 34-yard field goal after a methodical drive. Tannehill misses a wide-open Gibson on 3rd and 11. The difference between him missing and E.J. Manuel missing is the fact that Tannehill was under heavy pressure when he missed. Meanwhile, E.J. Manuel had a clean pocket to throw from, and he just flat out missed. But nonetheless, a miss is a miss is a miss is a miss, which leads to a field goal. It's 9-3. Now, this is the difference between last week with the Dolphins and their ability to come back. They were down 10. Keep in mind, they were down 20 to 10 last week to the New England Patriots at the half. This week they were down 9-0 at the half. So not a huge difference in between the amount that they were down. The difference in this game was Buffalo was able to respond every single time the Dolphins put some points on the board, something that the Patriots failed to do a week ago. The Patriots never scored in the second half, which allowed the Dolphins to build momentum and start to gain confidence and continue to put points on the scoreboard. In this game, every time the Dolphins scored, the Bills had an answer. 102-yard kickoff return by who else? You guessed it. Talking about Spiller, the Thriller, talking about Spiller, C.J. Spiller. 102 yards, down the sidelines, untouched. 16-3, Buffalo Bills lead in this game. That was monumental because, again, Dolphins trying to build some confidence, trying to get something going, some momentum, and that brought it to a screeching halt as the Bills crowd gets involved. And they just came off of a very emotional halftime with Jim Kelly coming out to a rousing applause. I was told by Mark, a guy that was at the game, that it was a very emotional halftime service where they honored Ralph Wilson, and Jim Kelly was out there. And you know he's been going through his bout with the cancer and that it's in remission, and so it was just a really good scene in Buffalo. He said he loved the environment and the energy. It was just a great game to be at, and Samuel Watkins went off, and we'll talk about him in a second. And so he said it was just a great environment to be in. I can believe it, and that C.J. Spiller 102-yard kickoff return might have been the apex of this game. Dolphins, aided by 3 Bills penalties, finally get into the end zone as Mike Wallace, a.k.a. 60 Minutes, has an awesome one-hand grab. And what makes this one-handed grab so much better than the average one-hand grab is that he was facing one direction, the ball was behind him. He not only had to change his body direction, but he also had to reach behind him for the football, turn his body, corral it, and get in bounds. It was a gorgeous catch. You won't see one better in terms of having to do a pirouette, get the football, and keep yourself in bounds. Great catch by 60 Minutes. Gets the Dolphins that much closer at 16-10. But just like I've said before, Dolphins weren't able to build momentum in this game because the Bills struck quickly after that score. They answered the Dolphins score with a score of their own. C.J. Spiller helps Bills respond quickly to the Fins score with a 47-yard run, which sets up Sammy Watkins' first NFL touchdown. Give it up for Mr. Sammy Watkins as he gets in the end zone on a crosser, dives to the pylon, gets in. It's 23-10. That was a huge play again. Dolphins trying to inch closer. Bills separate with another touchdown. That's the end of the third quarter. We go to the fourth quarter. Bills add another field goal. Dan Carpenter's fourth of the game to make it 26-10. Dolphins are rejected on 4th and 1. They are denied. That essentially wrapped the game up. Bills would add another field goal, his 5th of the game for Carpenter. And as they find a way to get it done at home in convincing fashion, do the Buffalo Bills. Hey, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, watch out for the Buffalo Bills. It's still early, and I don't want to jump to conclusions. And you know how we love to do, we jump on the new hot team. But I tried to warn everyone last week. I said, hey, wait a minute now. Everybody was talking about this upset. The Bills at Chicago was such an upset. And I'm saying, hey, wait a minute. Why is this an upset? You don't know if the Bills are a 10-win team or not this year. Those were my exact words. You don't know if that was just a good road win by a good football team. Who are we to say? You know, if this were Week 14 and the Bills were 5-9 at the time, sure, then you could say, oh, that was an upset because we know who they are. We don't know who this Bills team is. This could be a good football team this year. And they're playing like it right now. Defensively, we already knew this was a really good team. I had questions about the defense under a new coordinator for the 3rd consecutive year. But it looks like they fit in. Guys are still making plays. This is all starting to come together for the Bills. Now the question is, can they remain consistent for 16 games, not just a quarter of the season or half of the season? Can they remain consistent for 16 games? I want to talk about a guy that has really helped this defensive unit out tremendously, and that's Corey Graham. He's playing some lights-out football right now. His acquisition over the offseason might have been the biggest acquisition to this Bills football team because he's playing some dynamite football right now. Remember, last week, pick 6, really changed the game against the Bears. He had a huge knockaway from 60 minutes in this game. It was all over the field, almost had another pick in this game. Corey Graham is playing some outstanding football, and I think right now his play along with the rest of those guys on the defensive side of football is what's carrying this Bills team along with E.J. Manuel's steady progression again. He's not doing anything earth-shattering, but he's playing within himself and the offense, and most importantly, he's not turning the football over. Bills get the win, go to 2-0 on the season. 29-10 is the score. Meanwhile, Dolphins lay another egg in Buffalo. They just can't seem to find a way to not only beat the Bills. Okay, that's a problem in itself, but in Buffalo, it's like it's a totally different world for the Dolphins in Buffalo. They just can't seem to get their footing when they go out to Orchard Park. They're now 1-1 on the season. So that's going to do it for this review of Bills and Dolphins. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. I've got plenty more games to break down in week number 2 of the National Football League. Come back and join me as I'll continue to break down the slate of games in week number 2. See you in a bit.